Hi, boys and girls. Today in science, you are going to be identifying some mystery elements. You're going to determine the identity of an element by calculating its density. So remember when we are learning in our classes, we always go to modules. In the modules, there's one module for each week. And I go down to the day. So today is Wednesday, October 21st. So I'm going to be doing all the work that is listed here. So the first thing that I have for you is just a review of what we've learned so far about density, whether you have been with myself or you have been with Mr. Alvarez so far, or maybe you were in in-person classrooms. So I included two slideshows that you might want to go through. You don't have to, but if you're like, I don't know what density is, I don't know what volume is, you probably want to take some time to go through these. Again, this is all stuff that we learned last week for the most part, so it's just a review. But if you're still needing some help, this can be very helpful to go through these slideshows. After you do that, let me minimize my screen just a little bit. Okay, so after you do that, there's a next button right down here. I'm going to click next, and it's going to take me to today's assignment. So today's assignment is practicing calculating density, but it's also reviewing what we learned a couple of weeks ago about metals, nonmetals, and metalloids. Okay, so today's assignment, I'm going to read what it says on the screen. Below is a unique periodic table that shows the state of matter at room temperature, so like normal 70 degrees, of each element and the density of each element. Today, you will consider all of the evidence provided for each mystery element and use the periodic table below to determine the mystery element's identity. It's important to remember that density equals mass divided by volume, which is the same as what we've been learning in math. Okay, density equals mass over volume. That's a division problem. Okay, so we're using this very different periodic table. And let me see if I can make it any bigger. No. Okay, so on this periodic table, you see that it's all colored in green and blue. Anything that is green is solid or liquid normally or at room temperature, and anything that is blue is a gas at room temperature. Remember, we learned about states of matter, solid, liquid, and gas in previous years of science, and so you got to think back of what you remember about those. So all the greens are going to be solids or liquids, and all the blues will be gas. Now, there's some additional information underneath the chemical symbol. So let me see if I can get my pointer back. Nope. Let me go back. I want the pointer. Let me preview. Okay, so on this periodic table, there is a number at the bottom of each box. I know it's really tiny, but I want to have this pointer. So for example, I have the element P with the chemical symbol P. Okay, that element is phosphorus. I can look at a different periodic table to find that out. Right underneath it is this number, 1.82. This number on this specific periodic table is the density of the element. This is a very unique periodic table. It includes density numbers. Most periodic tables do not. So you have to use this periodic table for this activity. It's different than the ones we have used in the past because it includes this special number that is not on other periodic tables, that is the element's density, 1.25. Now, density is a super duper cool property because it allows us, like every pure substance has a specific density, and as long as it's pure, no matter the size of it, no matter how big or small of a piece I have of it, its density number will always be the same when I divide its mass by its volume or its space it takes up. And so on this table, it gives me, for example, aluminum. Pure aluminum will always have the density of 2.70. So it can really help me identify elements and other substances when I don't know what they are. For this assignment, I've also included the periodic table we've used previously. I know it's small. You can always click zoom to zoom in so that you can see the names of the individual elements. You can also open this bigger, okay? So when I zoom in, you can see I can read the actual names. Okay, so let's get to the first one. So question one, I have this substance. Now, I can tell this substance is a gas. This is a gas canister. So this is an element that is going to be a gas, and I wouldn't normally be able to see it because it's going to be invisible in the air as a gas. And so it's this canister tells me it's a gas. It's not really what the element looks like. Like you can see in other samples, you get to actually see what the element looks like. So whenever I see this green cylinder, I know I'm dealing with a gas, and then right underneath, I am given the mass and the volume. And then I'm given some physical properties for the element. It does not conduct electricity, no conduction. It's a transparent gas. It's not brittle or malleable. It's not magnetic, and it's not ductile, which means it cannot be pulled into wires. And at room temperature, it's a gas. So my next step is to think about the information that I've been given about this element, and I need to fill in what I know. So I'm going to simply just type in 954. So it tells me the mass of this element is 954 grams. The volume, it says, is 1,060 liters. To get the density, I'm going to go ahead and pull up my calculator. So in science, we get to use a calculator. Everybody gets to use a calculator when we're doing these density problems. So I need to make sure I'm using the formula. Density equals mass divided by volume. In the problem, I have my mass, 954, divided by my volume, 1060 or 1060, and I hit equal. There's my density, 0.9 grams per liter. The next step is to identify if this element is a metal, nonmetal, or metalloid. Now, I got to think back to what I learned a couple of weeks ago about the properties of metal, nonmetal, and metalloid. Hopefully, you wrote down some notes in your science journal so you have that to refer to. Okay, so I got to go back and look at the properties that are common of metals, nonmetals, and metalloids, and I need to decide, well, if it doesn't conduct electricity, it's a gas. Okay, it's a gas. It's one of these. Okay, all these are the gases and hydrogen. So now I know where it's got to be placed on the periodic table. It's not brittle or malleable. It's not magnetic. It's not ductile, and it's a gas at room temperature. So I'm pretty sure when I go back up here, I'm pretty confident it can't be any of these. And I know that because it's a gas at room temperature. So any of the greens are out, which means it's not going to be a metalloid, which is found on the stair-step lines. And it's not going to be a metal. It's not going to be found on the left-hand side because all of those are either a solid or a liquid. So it definitely can't be those. So it is over here on the right-hand side of the table. I also know based on those properties, it has to be a non-metal. There's no other choice. It has to be a non-metal. And then finally, my last step is to identify what the name of this element is. Okay, so it has a density of 0.9, and I know it's a non-metal. So I'm going to go to the periodic table, and I'm going to look at all the elements. And yeah, I can't make this any bigger. And I'm going to look really closely. There we go. And see where in the metals and the non-metals, okay, if I can find this element. And I'm looking for, go back. I am looking for, I bet I lost all my work, that it has the density of 0.9. Okay, so this is a perfect view right here. So I'm going to go through, this is a non-metal, 0.089. Well, that's close. I don't know. Maybe no. I got to remember what I learned about in math. Okay, place value is important. That definitely can't be the answer. I have 0.179, not close. 1.25, that's over what I'm looking for. 1.43, that's greater than what I need. 1.70, nope. 0.90. I bet this element is an E. But let me just check and see if anything else. Nope, nothing was even close. So NE. NE is not an element name. NE is a chemical symbol. My assignment asked for the name of the element. So I need to go find element number 10, NE, on the periodic table that includes the names. And I can see right here, written very small on the bottom of the box, it is neon. So I go back, and of course, all my answers are gone from before, and I'm going to type in neon spelled correctly. Okay, so that is the first one. If you're paying attention to the video, you just got all the answers to the first one. So you have 7 more to do just like that. I think what I'll do is I'll go back and put in a video about metals, nonmetals, and metalloids as well on the first introduction where the density slides were at. Just in case you don't remember what their properties are, I'll give you some more information on that as well so you have it. Please let me know if you have any questions.